There's a Honda that people across Europe have gone out and bought more than 76,000 times. According to Honda's own figures, in 2023, it was the company's second best-selling bike on the entire continent. Riders are genuinely obsessed with it. And if you live in the United States, Honda simply will not sell you one new. So naturally, you'd assume the government stepped in. Some emissions rule, some safety law, the usual mountain of red tape that keeps cool foreign machines off American roads. Here's the twist that makes this whole thing kind of ridiculous. There's no law that names this bike and bans it. The engine bolted inside it is already sitting in American showrooms right now, fully legal, inside a different Honda. This is the story of the Honda X-ADV and why the main thing standing between you and this bike isn't a law, it's a spreadsheet. Let's start with the obvious question because it's a fair one. What even is this thing? Picture an adventure motorcycle, tall stance, body armor, a big protective windscreen, that whole rugged go-anywhere look. Now mix in a scooter. Step through, twist the throttle, no clutch, no gear lever, just go. The XADV is what happens when you smash those two ideas together and somehow end up with something that actually works. Honda calls it a crossover. Everyone else just calls it the adventure scooter. Under the bodywork sits a 745 cubic centimeter parallel twin engine paired with Honda's clever automatic gearbox, the dual clutch transmission. No clutch lever, no stalling in traffic, just smooth automatic shifts with the option to flick through gears yourself if you're feeling sporty. It's got real spoked wheels, a comfy seat you can sit on all day, and a storage compartment under the seat big enough to swallow a full-face helmet. Try doing that on your average superbike. And this is not some soft wobbly scooter with a fairing bolted on. It rides on proper upside-down forks. It has twin disc brakes up front, selectable ride modes, and a setting tuned specifically for loose gravel. Honda had teased this idea once before with an odd machine called the Integra, a motorcycle that basically cosplayed as a scooter. But the XADV took the concept and ran with it, and in doing so, it more or less invented a new category, the SUV of two wheels. For years, nobody else had a proper answer to it. It has enough poke for real highways, not just city streets, and depending on conditions, it will push up toward triple digits. It broke cover at the big EICMA motorcycle show in Milan back in 2016, and it hit European showrooms in 2017. And here is the part nobody at Honda expected. The weird automatic adventure scooter, the machine that looked like a design experiment, turned into one of the best-selling bikes the company had. But before we get to the sales explosion, you have to hear how this bike was even born. Because by the man's own account, it started with one very annoyed engineer and a beach he could not reach. Back in the summer of 2013, a Honda engineer named Daniele Lucchesi was on holiday on the Greek island of Ios. He rented a scooter to get around like you do, and he set off to reach a gorgeous stretch of sand called Manganari Beach. But the road turned to gravel. The little scooter couldn't handle it, and he never made it to the beach. You or I would probably just grumble, turn around, and go find a bar. Lucchesi went back to work with a mission. He wanted to build a scooter that could actually go where the pavement ends. So the team at Honda's R&D center in Rome got to work, led on design by Maurizio Carbonara, the same designer behind Honda's legendary Africa Twin adventure bike. There was just one obstacle. The bosses back in Japan weren't sold on it. As Lucchesi later put it, the Japanese just didn't get it. An automatic adventure scooter was not an obvious win, and he had to keep fighting for the idea. By the accounts from the launch, he pitched it and repitched it and answered the same doubts over and over before Honda's leadership finally let him build the thing. It would have been the easiest decision in the world to kill it off. Somebody thankfully didn't. Thank goodness he did, because what happened next is the whole reason we're here. The XADV didn't just sell, it became a phenomenon. In its very first year on sale, it shot up Honda's European charts. And by Honda's own count, by 2023 it had become the company's second best-selling bike in all of Europe, beaten only by a naked sport bike. More than 76,000 of them have found homes across the continent since 2017. And it's not hard to see why it caught on over there. For a rider threading through Rome or Paris or Barcelona, this thing is close to perfect. It's automatic, so stop-start traffic is effortless. It shrugs off bad weather behind that big screen. It sips fuel. It swallows your shopping and your helmet under the seat. And when the weekend rolls around, it's happy to head out of the city and onto a rough back road without complaining. One bike that does the boring commute and the fun escape. In a lot of European cities, that combination is genuinely worth paying for. And then there's Italy, where things got genuinely spicy. Over the first 8 months of 2018, in Italy, the XADV outsold the BMW R1200GS. If you don't know bikes, let me translate. The BMW GS is the king of adventure motorcycles. It's the Land Rover of 2 wheels, the bike every well-off adventurer parks in the garage. And in Italy, for those 8 months, an automatic Honda scooter outsold it. 3,233 XADVs went out the door against 3,180 of the mighty BMW. The only reason the GS still got counted as the top motorcycle in that ranking? A technicality. Because officially, on paper, the XADV isn't classed as a motorcycle at all. It's registered as a scooter. So the scooter quietly beat the motorbike, and everyone just agreed not to make a big deal of it. But the buyers noticed. In one of the most motorcycle-obsessed countries on the planet, plenty of riders looked at the legendary GS and the oddball Honda and picked the oddball. If you're enjoying this and you like weird machines the rest of the world gets and America doesn't, do me a favor and hit subscribe. I dig into stories like this every week. Now, back to the bike that keeps embarrassing its more serious rivals, because the XADV wasn't done proving itself. In 2019, an Italian racer named Renato Zocchi took a modified XADV to the Gibraltar Race, a brutal event that runs about 7,000 kilometers over 2 weeks, a lot of it off-road through dust and rock and misery, and he won his class. Class 2, the category for mid-size machines, going up against purpose-built adventure and enduro bikes from the likes of KTM and Husqvarna. He finished 7th overall on something most people would just call a scooter. No, he didn't win the whole rally, but a class win out there on that machine is still faintly ridiculous. Picture the scene. A machine with a step-through floor and underseat helmet storage, out in the dust and the rocks, holding its own against stripped-down rally weapons, ridden by seasoned Dakar veterans. On paper, it shouldn't work at all. The whole magic of the XADV is that it does. Honda leaned into the momentum and built a little brother, the ADV 350, a smaller adventure scooter that Honda says has been Europe's best-selling scooter over 300 cubic centimeters for 2 years running. The XADV had started an entire movement. Europe was hooked, and Honda built a whole family around the idea. The road-focused Forza 750 on the same platform, the mid-size ADV 350, the smaller ADV 160. An entire range of these automatic, do-anything machines sold and supported across Europe and beyond. Honda is clearly all in on the concept, just apparently not for you. So let's finally deal with the elephant in the room. This bike is a proven hit. It wins its class in rallies and outsells BMWs in Italy. So why can't Americans buy one? This is where almost everyone guesses wrong. So let's walk through the usual suspects. Guess number 1 is emissions. The idea that America's environmental regulator, the EPA, blocked it for being too dirty. Guess number 2 is safety, that the Department of Transportation wouldn't sign off on it. Guess number 3, the favorite of every bike forum, is the famous 25-year import rule, the law that keeps young foreign vehicles out until they're old enough to legally drink. Now those guesses aren't crazy. Emissions rules, safety certification, and import law are all very real things, but none of them is the reason Honda leaves the XADV out of its American lineup. And the best clue is one single bike. Meet the Honda NC750X. It's a completely normal adventure-style motorcycle that Honda America happily sells you brand new today for $9,499 before shipping. And here's the kicker. The NC750X uses the same 745 cubic centimeters engine platform and the same dual-clutch transmission automatic gearbox as the XADV. Same fundamental heart. Honda tunes the XADV's gearbox a bit differently and adds a gravel mode, but underneath, it's the same basic engine and transmission. Think about what that tells us. The hard, expensive part of selling a bike in America is getting an engine like this certified as clean enough for the EPA and legal for US roads. And Honda already did that work for this exact engine family years ago. So this isn't some impossible outlaw machine that American law can't cope with. Honda has already proven it can put this powertrain on US roads. Getting a bike ready for America isn't only about the engine, mind you. There are crash and lighting standards, emissions paperwork, noise limits, labeling, all of it. It's a genuine slog. But Honda has done that slog for this engine already, and it does that slog every single year for a whole lineup of bikes. For a company Honda's size, the paperwork was never the thing standing in the way, which means the reason the XADV isn't here has to be something else entirely. So what is it? For that, we need to visit a graveyard. The graveyard of the American maxi-scooter. Big premium scooters have been tried in the States before, and they never quite caught fire. Honda used to sell a large touring scooter here called the Silver Wing. It had loyal fans, it ran for well over a decade, and it quietly left the US lineup after 2013. Suzuki sold a big, fast scooter called the Bergman 650, which hung on until around 2018. BMW brought over its C650 maxi-scooter too. Every one of them found dedicated owners. Not one of them turned America into a maxi-scooter country. There's a cultural thing sitting underneath all this. In Europe, a big scooter is a smart, respectable way to carve through a crowded city. In much of America, scooters still carry a bit of a stigma they just don't have in Rome or Paris. Now stack the price on top of that attitude. There's no official US price for the XADV because Honda doesn't sell it here. But if you take the current UK price and simply convert it into dollars, you land at nearly 15,000 of them. That's a lot of money. It's well above the $9,500 NC750X that shares its engine. In Britain, the XADV already costs more than Honda's own Transalp, which is a proper, serious adventure motorcycle. So Honda would be asking Americans to pay adventure bike money, or more, for something officially labeled a scooter, in a country that has repeatedly walked straight past big scooters. And here's the detail that really gives the whole game away. Honda already sells a small adventure scooter in America. It's called the ADV 160, and before it came the ADV 150, Honda went through the effort of getting that little scooter federally certified and onto US roads because at a few $1,000s, the math works out. So the problem was never that Honda can't be bothered to homologate an adventure scooter for America. It obviously can, and it did. The problem is doing all of that expensive work for a near $15,000 version in a corner of the market that American buyers keep strolling right past, and the market keeps shrinking. In 2024, according to the Motorcycle Industry Council, new scooter sales in the entire United States came to roughly 15,700 units, down almost 20% in a single year. That's every gas scooter, every brand combined. Honda looks at that small, shrinking pond, looks at that near $15,000 sticker, runs the numbers, and decides the risk just isn't worth the reward. So the main wall here was never really about the law at all. It came down to a business case. Which brings us to the people stuck on the wrong side of that business case. The American riders who want one anyway. Dig through the motorcycle forums and you'll find them. The threads full of envy and mild despair, people asking how on earth they can get an XADV into the country. A few have actually trickled in through the gray market, and the stories are great. One rider described buying his XADV off a French woman living in Florida, and he wasn't even totally sure how she'd managed to register the thing. Others eye up Honda dealers in places like Guatemala, where you can just walk in and buy one and start scheming about how to get it home. You don't see this kind of longing for most bikes. Nobody's building forum threads begging to import an ordinary commuter. They do it for this one because there's simply nothing quite like it sold here at all. But this is where a real legal wall finally shows up, the one people wrongly assume blocks the whole bike from the start. It doesn't block Honda, it blocks you. Because the XADV was never federalized here, you can't just ship a European model over and register it. A modern motorcycle that wasn't originally certified for the US has to be brought into safety compliance by what's called a registered importer, and then separately certified for emissions through what the EPA calls an independent commercial importer. And that engine already being legal in the NC750X does not rescue you, because US approval covers the whole vehicle, the lights, the labels, the paperwork, all of it, not just the motor. You're looking at bonds, compliance headaches, and state registration battles. And even if you win, there's no factory warranty and no local dealer stocking XADV specific parts. Think about what that means day to day. A recall you can't get done. A wiring fault no local tech has ever laid eyes on. A cracked panel you have to source from another continent and wait weeks for. You'd own something rare and brilliant and spend half your time just nursing it along. So those forum stories are fun, but they are not a clean, repeatable path to a US legal bike. It's forbidden fruit, and it tastes a little like frustration. So what does America actually get instead? You get that NC750X, which is a genuinely lovely bike, just not the funky scooter. Or you get the little ADV 160, a small, charming adventure-styled scooter that carries the look but not the XADV's size or long-distance muscle. Nice machines, both of them. Neither is the thing 76,000 Europeans lined up to buy. And that's the quietly frustrating part. The NC750X is arguably the more sensible motorcycle of the two. But sensible was never really the appeal here. People fall for the XADV because it's weird and clever and does 5 jobs at once while looking like nothing else on the road. And here's the part that really stings. Honda keeps making the XADV better for everyone else. The 2025 model got sharp new LED headlights, standard cruise control, a bigger color display, and, in a first for a Honda motorcycle, sustainable plant-based Durabio plastic and recycled materials worked into the bodywork. The 2026 update rolled out fresh colors, including a special edition in racing livery. And so far, every one of those updates has landed in Europe with no US launch attached. So the next time someone tells you a brilliant bike is banned in the States, remember the XADV. There's no emissions law naming it and no safety rule outlawing it. Its engine family is already here, already certified, already humming down American highways inside another Honda. What actually keeps the XADV out of America comes down to a single decision. Honda looked at the market, ran the numbers, and figured Americans wouldn't buy it in the numbers it would take to make the whole thing worth the trouble. Somewhere in a Honda office, a spreadsheet quietly decided this one wasn't worth the effort. Maybe it's right. Or maybe there's a whole crowd of American riders who'd happily buy the weirdest, most practical, rally-winning scooter on the planet, if someone would just give them the chance. So I've got to ask you, if Honda finally rolled the dice and sold the XADV in the States, would you actually buy one? Or is a near $15,000 automatic adventure scooter a bridge too far? Drop it in the comments. I genuinely want to know. And if you enjoyed this one, there are plenty more machines the rest of the world gets to enjoy while America sits in the corner. Go watch another one, and I'll see you there.